Yo, hey guys. Good evening and good morning to everyone at home. Welcome to another AMA with the YGG community. My name is John Sedano, community and media manager for YGG, and my partner, the one and only Mr. Sarah Toby. How you doing, man?
Very good, sir. Very good. We're lucky enough to have Alessandro Rosa and Fernandoe Sette, the marketing growth community lead and senior director of product from CastleCrush and Wildlife Studios, with us today. If you guys want to give us the honor of introducing yourselves.
Of course. So thanks for having us. Love the hat, guys. And so we're at Wildlife Studio. Wildlife is one of the top 10 mobile players in the world. We've been building games since 2011. So 11 years now. And last year we decided to make the plunge into blockchain gaming. For us, blockchain is very similar to what free-to-play was back when we started. It's a new business model, new platforms, new player base as well, and we really think this can be as relevant for gaming as mobile was back in the day. And we decided to take the plunge into this in January. And CastleCrush is our first project. So just to introduce ourselves, my name is Fernando. I've been at Wildlife for 3 years in multiple roles. I started as director in engineering, then moved on to publishing, and more recently I was leading all our live games. Not all our live games, our 4 major live games: Uba, Tennis, Sniper, War Machines. Maybe you guys know some of them. And Alessandro here, I'm going to have him speak. He's been a very long time in the company, leading marketing, and we basically joined efforts in January to launch this new project. Alessandro, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so been in the company since 2016. Used to work traditional, supply chain companies. Then went to so very much coming from a different world into gaming. Been working at the company for the past 6 years. And it's been a wild ride going into Web3. So we're super excited to be here. We think this could be the start of something new for the company and something very big for the industry. The same way that freemium sort of disrupted everything. We think we're at that stage now, as Fernando mentioned. So super excited to be here, shaping the beginning of this industry.
Cool. And a little bit about CastleCrush. So CastleCrush is a game that we really love. It's probably one of our best best design games in terms of gameplay and mechanics. It's a very fun game, very deep game in terms of how you can develop new strategies and skill. So it's a game that we all like, and it has a very passionate community. We have 1.4 million users that it's for the game that we have the most retention in our company. So it's a very fun animated card game, analogous to Clash Royale, and given how passionate the community was, the card meta game that was a good fit for our first experiment in crypto, and the fact that the community was already engaging in a lot of secondary market trading. So you had players that had 3-4 accounts. They grinded top one account and then they sold that account. Basically what they would do is max out a specific deck and then sell it to other players, right? So that there's all these things going on. So it seems like a fertile ground for crypto. And we started talking to the community about the game, and they really liked the idea. They jumped on board this journey with us, and it's been very fun to see everyone excited. The community grew a lot. We gained a ton of engagement, so it's been a wild ride, but a very enjoyable one.
Awesome. It's going to be quite exciting, I think, for a game that has like a real kind of mobile-based player base already in place.
Yeah.
That's going to be shifting over to kind of blockchain gaming, and it's great to see, mobile developers who've been so big in the kind of free-to-play and mobile gaming space kind of really kind of go full force into blockchain gaming. So it's really it's great to have you guys enter the space, and I'm sure I speak for many in the audience in that we're really excited to jump on and start playing some games. And just for everybody, so that they know they can actually go out there and they can start playing CastleCrush now and start to get some experience with how the game works.
Yes, they can, and I encourage everyone to do it. So, the game is live, right? Both on Android and iPhone. It's very, like I said, large player base, very cool user scores. You can just come in, start playing the game, get a feel for it. Even join clans if you guys want to start engaging with the community. So it's already out there, and we're very excited to see how, like you said, right? So we already have a very big player base, and it's been a very interesting experience on how to move that Web 2 player base into Web 3 space. So a few of our players were already familiar, right? So like you can think about it as a microcosm of the rest of the world. So we had like 4 or 5% of players that already knew about NFTs and like are ready to jump on board. But there are a ton of others that are very intrigued and they want to participate, especially like the top level players, like they see this as a way to continue to progress in the game. And there's a lot of things that we need to do on our end to educate, to get people to move on board. So this is one of the major focus that especially Alessandro has been working on, how to bridge this gap from Web 2 to Web 3.
Yeah, so I can see that you're showing the download button now on the website, so it's there. You can also obviously search on the app stores. And really important, the game will remain free to play even after we launch the crypto and NFT layer. We will not wipe any progress, so we really recommend people that are looking into perhaps entering the NFT layer to start playing the game now. And you will be able to keep your progress. You will keep your cards. Nice. It will be a continuous experience, right?
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, how you guys are actually like leveraging like your existing community and bringing them into Web3. I think you aren't only giving your players another thing to look forward to, but even just helping build like the ecosystem in general for Web3, right? But like the thing is, how I see it is, if I was an existing player, I would, and you announce like the new NFT features, like what you plan to the future are, I would see it as another patch. Like I wouldn't even realize that you are actually like introducing me to Web3, to blockchain games, to NFTs, and just another new button on on the interface. And if I click it, oh cool, like there are new features that I could do. So this is, I think this is very significant in terms of onboarding new players, especially those who are from the traditional background, and like sooner or later they find out like these assets that they have, that they already truly own them, and then sooner than later they're going to be telling their friends about these cool new features, and then the community just keeps growing. And already, as I said, already having an existing player base to do this, same with YGG, it makes everything a lot easier, and just a lot more smoother. But then my question would be, what was the thought process for you guys in creating, because you already created CastleCrush even before the NFT feature, but why was this the game that that you said we want to put the NFTs in CastleCrush and not any other game?
Right. So a few reasons. So I think even before we talk about CastleCrush specifically, there's a decision around, should we build a new game entirely or use an existing game, right? And we made the decision to first, like, let's use an existing game for a few reasons. One, it already has a big a community, right? It already has players. It's so this is something that we can leverage to make the game big. The other thing is making. We wanted to make sure, like, we're a gaming company. We want to make fun games, right? And making a fun game is hard. It's not easy, right? So we either could make like a very simple, not really great crypto game fast that we could launch, or we chose a mechanic that we really like, a very fun game, and focused on making on solving the blockchain elements, right? Both from how do we integrate, how do we create an economy, how do we onboard both existing players from Web 2 and also players from Web 3. And we chose this, right? Because we want to make sure that we delivered a great game, and that we were focused on the things that we needed to make it great for blockchain, instead of mixing everything together. So that was the first decision. And then why CastleCrush? So the reason we chose CastleCrush was, one, the like I said, the community is very passionate, right? So one of the things that we wanted was, like, what's the likelihood that the community is going to embrace this? So we picked a game where we had players that were very, very, very passionate about the game, about the mechanics, and the CastleCrush players, they are extremely vocal, and they care a lot about the game, right? They want to comment on everything. We shared with them the designs from day one, and they engaged, and they said, no, let's do this, let's do that. They understand the mechanics of the game better than we do, to be honest. So we wanted to make sure that we had this very engaged community, and CastleCrush had that. The other thing is, we wanted to make sure that we did a good job in creating an economy and adapting the meta game to the blockchain. And this was the first time that we were going to do this. So we looked at all our games, and the card meta game was one that we could really understand, and looked at it and said, oh, this is something that we can create an economy around, and we know we can see how it's going to work, and it's not going to be very complex. If you look at our other games, they would be a lot more challenging from a design perspective to adapt to blockchain, right? It would be a lot more complex, and we were very sure that we could do a great job at that. So that was one of the reasons that the metagame was very metagame. By metagame, I mean everything that runs around the gameplay itself, right? The things that you have to do. So you could easily see how trading, renting, selling, buying, like all these things would fit into the existing game in an easy way. On the other games, it wasn't as clear. And finally, the game is very fun. It has a ton of retention, right? So we thought, like, if you're thinking about bringing these new players from Web3 and giving them a great experience, like, CastleCrush is definitely a game that people love. We still have like 20,000 downloads every day for this game, and it has a huge retention. So this is a game that new players like to play. When they open the app and start playing, they get hooked. So it's like the whole game seemed like a great fit for a first experiment for these three reasons.
I mean, 20,000 downloads a day that's pretty respectable. Great to see that you've got that kind of downloads still occurring after the game's been out for a while. Definitely says a lot, I think, about why the YGG community should jump in and give the game a shot and see what kind of skill level they can demonstrate. And I see some people asking how they can become a scholar in the game, and I think one of the best ways for the people to do that is get out there, start playing, and start showing that you have the skills to build up decks and skill to play the game, and that way we can help identify who the best players in the community are. Sedano, have you ever played CastleCrush? I, for one, have actually played CastleCrush already so far. Have you had a chance to play it yet?
To be honest, no, I haven't. But I do know I do have a couple of friends who are, especially like here in our neighborhood. I'm not sure why, but I know they have been playing this even before the Web3 feature. So like me hearing about Wildlife Studios, getting their feet wet into it, it's really refreshing, because there is a following, and there is interest in the game, and I see why not our community members should even, as Saratobi said, like take a shot at it. But my follow-up question to that is actually so who's I mean, tell me more about the team behind CastleCrush, Wildlife Studios, and maybe another follow-up question would be, like, whose idea was it to get it into NFTs, because that's going to be something interesting.
Right. So let's start with the second one, and then I'll go into the team. So this was a fun thing. So we are still a founder-led company, right? So our CEO is still one of the founders. It was basically founded by three people. The CPO Arthur, who actually he was like personally involved in CastleCrush, probably the game that he likes the most. So he's actually working very closely with us. He asked us to have like weekly product meetings with him because he wants to help build the roadmap of new features and new events, new things to add to the game. Our CTO Mike and our CEO Victor, right? And because we're a founder-led company, we still have this very entrepreneurial spirit, right? So Victor was like, we need to get, when he saw blockchain, I think since January of 2021, he started like bringing this up, right? And you can imagine like talking about blockchain in the middle of the pandemic, we're trying to wrap our heads around, reorganizing the company. And he was like, no, we need to get into blockchain. And everybody in the executive team, I remember I was part of those meetings, said, no, Victor, like we can't do this now, we can't do this now. And he was very frustrated, right? And I remember we started at September of last year. I was in live games, and he started talking to me about this, and we started discussing. And then in December, he called me just before the holiday and said, hey, we need to do this. We need someone senior to lead this effort. Would you be willing to work with me to put this together? And I said, yeah, of course. And so we started in January, right? So we started thinking about this, but basically that's how we started. Basically, our CEO, very entrepreneur, pushing for this, right? You can imagine like we are already a big company, right? So there is this kind of inertia that big companies build over time. And I think the fact that we still have the founding team inside makes us a little bit better and more willing to adopt these new things and plunge into these new worlds, right? That are like completely outside of zone of comfort. And then we started thinking about this, discussing like what's the best way to do it, and we had a lot of discussion like, okay, so how did we do it in the past? Like, how did we get into mobile? And basically, like the way we got into mobile was building games, right? Like actually getting our hands dirty and engaging with the industry and putting great products out there, learning and improving those products. And so that's what we decided to do. So we made a decision to build our first game, and then we went through the whole process that I just described on choosing CastleCrush. So that's kind of of this story, right? But honestly, I think if we didn't have the founding team that we have, we'd probably still be talking about it, but not doing really anything practical. And the second, and then in terms of the team, we basically have a start team, right? So I was leading our 4 live games, and now I'm leading projects for CastleCrush. Our CPO Arthur is very involved, like I said. Alessandro, one of the most senior people in marketing that we had, joined the team. On the engineering, we have 3 engineers from live game, all top performers that are doing this. On the art is being made by Jason Morris, who is a veteran of Blizzard, 10 years at Blizzard. He joined us last year and is now full-time leading all the art revamp, all the artwork being done for the new cards on CastleCrush. It's being led by Jason. And we took some, I think, then we have like the community people, everything that runs around. The good thing is that we have access to a lot of support and structure from being a big gaming company, right? So we can leverage like all the infrastructure, all the services, both like community, legal, like everything that we need, we have ready access to in order to do this. But at the same time, we are able to move very fast. So we're basically operating like a startup inside Wildlife. Does that answer the question, by the way?
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, go ahead, Alessandro, you were saying?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think that was pretty complete answer.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I heard someone say something, but yeah, I mean, yeah, dude. Thank you for that. Because I mean, we always make sure, like for us and for the community, to like really dive into these projects that we're partnered with. Like we'd love to get to know like the team behind it, a little more, just to get
Yeah.
more confidence and see like where actually the experience came from. And like you mentioned that you guys have a really solid team that you've been working a really long together and already have these metrics for success. And it's
Yeah.
proven. You have a proven track record. And then now like the question is for me. So like, I already see like some people in the YGG community actually have downloaded the game and actually are playing right now. But so these assets that we will be having inside Castle Crush, will we be able to use them in the other Wildlife Studios games? And if yes, what will be the next one that we could expect to be playing?
Right. So, to be very honest, right now it is 100% focused on Castle Crush. So that in the short term, we don't have plans to having the assets being used immediately on any of the other games. Having said that, it is the philosophy that we're building everything with the philosophy that we want to make sure that we build an ecosystem, right? And as we launch new projects, we want everyone that has assets in our games to be able to use those assets in some form, either like a specific character or a skin or like some cool weapon. I don't know. We need to think about how that would look like. We haven't really gone deep onto that, but we definitely want, like, we embrace a lot the spirit of building a community, right? And this idea that blockchain allows for this interoperability to be very smooth. So we want to leverage that on all future projects. We are discussing. We have a lot of ideas of new games. Like, we're very excited about the space, and like, we are a creative company, right? And like, we're not. There's no shortage of ideas. And I always say, like, this is it's a good thing, but it's also a flaw, right? Because we tend to always be thinking about the new things, but we need to have the discipline to deliver really well on what we're doing. So the entire team is 100% focused on Castle Crush and at the moment. Just one comment: you guys are seeing my wife going back and forth. We just had a kid,
Oh, congrats, man.
and yeah, thank you. And we are in a very small apartment because ours is refurbishing, right? So it's very tight.
Congrats. It's
So
great
I
to hear, man.
apologize for seeing her going back and forth. But in any case, so we don't have concrete plans that we can share right now and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. So we can't make a specific promise. What we can say is that the spirit and the intention is there to make sure that every new project that we launch, we connect, we build this connection, these bridges with everything that we do, so that we have this very cool ecosystem that's governed by wildlife, right? That's everything that we do. We have this wildlife kind of world, and then for our next project, we have a ton of ideas. We have some very cool games that not games. They have very cool IP that we haven't really launched. Don't haven't games built already. One of them is actually, it's the entire artwork was designed by Adam Murguia, who was the lead artist on League of Legends. So he did all the
Wow.
artwork for Legends. He worked with us for about a year, well, about 1 or 2 years, and he had a pet project which was an FPS, like a really cool FPS. He did all the art. It's an amazing IP, and they're really excited about using that. So that could be probably the next one that we're going to launch. But actually, one of the feedbacks that we got from you guys, by the way, from Jeremy, said, hey, before you launch anything else, let's make sure that Castle Crush is a big hit. And I completely agree with Jeff on that. Want to make sure that Castle Crush is huge, but we have a ton of ideas. We wanted to have, like, in the next 12 months at least 2 new games launched. That's the plan.
Nice.
And then to complement on that, then I think it's a really good question, and we could spend like hours here talking about like how games could use their assets in other games and interoperability. But it's really interesting that the concept is out there and everybody's asking about it, but we don't see a lot of references, right? There's not a
Yeah,
lot of
that's true.
games that have made success, and then you can use those NFTs in other games, right? There's a lot of talk of but there's not a lot of benchmarks, and so it's a cool situation where we're happy to be in the front of that, but at the same time there's no real like answers out there that we can investigate and learn from, right? So we'd be happy we've done that in the past in our Web 2 games. We have used IPs from a game that was successful, built a second game using the same characters and same universe, same lore.
Nice.
And both games were very successful. So we have done that in the past, and I don't think we'd be very happy to experiment with Web 3. I think it's even better to do that in Web 3.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, sorry, you're muted, Alexi.
Oh, definitely excited stuff. Excited to see how the games develop. Excited to see what the next game is. Sure, CastleCrush is going to be a huge success. I suppose, as always, it's great to ask, some tech questions in terms of like the, with a game at the scale of what CastleCrush already is. On the tech side, what kind of blockchain have you guys decided to deploy onto?
So we are going to deploy it on our own subnet built on top of Avalanche, right? So we chose to go with them. We're going to build our own subnet, and the reason we decided to do this was like it is already a big game. We have 1.5 million users, and we wanted to make sure we provided the best experience possible for these users, and that the onboarding was really easy, right? So when we thought about it, we want our players to basically use the tokens that they're going to earn in game, that they're going to buy, to do all the transactions. So everything is a self-contained system, and people don't have to manage like multiple coins or multiple things at the same time. It's all within the CastleCrush ecosystem, and it's also a way for us to then like we can have either build ourselves or have the community build things in that subnet that leverage those assets and that token as well. So we kind of had that dream of building like this CastleCrush kind of ecosystem. But let's see how that goes. But the idea here was we chose Avalanche because we basically asked like, how can we provide the smoothest transition possible from Web 2 to Web 3 to our player base.
Awesome. And it's great, I suppose, as well, because it's EVM compatible. Leveraging a subnet means that you guys can basically use your kind of tokens as gas for the network inside the system as well. So that's a really cool feature. I'm excited to see that kind of how that works for you guys, for sure.
Awesome.
We actually have people in the community who have mentioned that they are actually fans of Sniper 3D. So is this also is also from you guys, right? And talking about like there is a reputation, behind with Wildlife Studios, and not only to mention like the people that you have worked with, the people that you are hiring, but talking about expansion into Web 3. Do you guys have any specific let's say milestones, or like do you have anything down the line in terms of building out your Web 3 team?
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit towards that. So what we like, if we look down the road, our vision is that we are able to attract some of the best game design talent in the world and pair them with people that are knowledgeable on crypto economy and blockchain development to build amazing games, right? So when we look at basically what we believe in is having fun games with a great core loop, and then you build the economy around that. You build all the other systems that make players engage, that creates financial transactions. But the game needs to be good. The game needs to provide a ton of value. That's what we believe, and that's what we are doing in Web 2, right? So we are building 7 studios this year around some of the top game designers in the world that are going to build games for Web 2, and we want to do the same thing for Web 3, where we attract the best talent, build small teams around them so that they can create amazing experiences for players. So that's what we want to do down the road. In terms of milestones, what we would like is to have at least three internal in the next 12 months, at least three internal projects that are advanced, maybe not fully launched, but at least advanced or close to launch, and one amazing game designer signed on to do a more ambitious project in this space, right? So we're really thinking right now about what are the types of people that can make great experiences that fit well within crypto. What are the kind of games that make sense, and who are the game designers behind them, so that we can attract them and help them be successful, right? So that's what we want to do. So I think the next 12 months is about laying the foundations. It's about learning, doing great stuff in crypto, and attracting talent, and then it's about creating games that we like to say. Basically, if I had to put it in a phrase, we want to launch a game in the next 3 years that marks an entire generation of crypto gamers.
Sounds good. But yeah, ideally, you know the secret sauce. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Like, you guys know the secret sauce, like especially with mobile games, right? And now, like, adding another tool to your arsenal, just amplifies, like, the potential that you guys have.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, but
I
there
would
are
say, like,
new capabilities that we need to build, right? Around
yeah.
tokenomics, community building. So there are a lot of things that we need to invest this year in order to build and create more robust capabilities that are Web3 specific, right? I think we have the whole game design and distribution chops from Web2, and now we're focusing on scaling and developing our skill set in Web3.
Gotcha.
And the tech is getting there as well, right, Dan? So if you look at the tech, like the onboarding experience, it's just gonna get easier, right? So for a new player that's coming from just playing mobile games or on any platform, they have to create an account on an exchange, send fiat, buy in. So there's a whole like 10-step process, right, to get into games, and we're already starting to see some solutions pop up. So even on OpenSea, you're already starting to see credit card payments for NFTs. So like tech is going to help a lot with bridging the gap with Web 2. We want to always be experimenting with that. So we're in conversations with the folks that are doing this with OpenSea and some other solution providers that we really think we can be on the forefront of onboarding the next 100, 200, 500 million players into Web 3. If you look at the scale of Web 2 games and compare that with crypto games, it's like 100x, right?
Yeah.
If you look at any game like Fortnite, Roblox, it has 500 million, players. We don't have that many. We have like 100x less wallets created in the world, right? So it's also going to come from tech.
Great, awesome. Like, I think, yeah, how about you, Saratobi? Like, what do you think about, like, YGG coming in as a guild? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's always great to see, YGG having a kind of real presence within a game. The fact that CastleCrush supports like guild battles already, clans, it's the kind of same, in essence, the same function. It's something that we definitely have already discussed, and I'm excited to see YGG spin up some clans. Who are going to be I'm sure that maybe there's even some people being brave and maybe going out there and trying to spin up some clans already. We have to try and formalize this and get ourselves performing. I mean, of course, like, so in terms of like, because YGG is a kind of play to earn blockchain gaming guild, what are going to be the core kind of ways to, how soon until the players can kind of start jumping in and earning and getting the NFTs and so forth?
Right. So late June, at the end of June, that's our goal, and we're working towards that. So like starting in July 1st, you should be able to start using your NFTs and earning and participating in both the community and the entire economy of CastleCrush.
Wow, that's really soon. So people put that in your diaries and get ready for some excitement.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we're so
so
excited. Like, sorry.
Alessandro, go ahead.
The question before, like working with YGG, so it's been, I'd say, one of our top partners, really in getting the game out there. So YGG, there's of course the scholarship angle, right? So YGG is bringing new players into the game, a new audience, is bringing visibility. Of course, there's the marketing angle, the new players, but there's a lot of work that went sort of like in the background before that, which we're super grateful for. So not only did YGG introduce us to the largest, other largest guilds in the world, a lot of the design in tokenomics and in how guilds will work, the technology behind what we need to build to support the scholarship models, all of that we worked really closely with YGG and the YGG sub DAOs and partners. I don't think we would have gotten to a state of maturity in our tokenomics as fast as we did without help from some very knowledgeable people at YGG. So
Sure.
so there's the front end angle of it, the more obvious one. So we're getting scholars into the game, but there's a lot of work being done in the background to make the experience for scholars better and the game better for players overall. The economy would more healthy and more durable.
Absolutely.
And we're not saying this. We say this amongst ourselves. We're not saying this because we're on the YGG stream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent. Great to hear that. Of course.
I actually just want to jump in real quick, Alexei. So, I have a very specific question here from the community. So we have Bap, who's asking about retention rate. So, do you guys have any figures, let's say for a 7-day retention rate? How many players are kept or whatnot?
Yes. So if I'm not mistaken, it's around 40 to 30% 7-day retention rate.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's very. I mean, dude,
Yeah,
that's,
no,
that's very, 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 very good, man.
big. Yeah,
Very
so
huge.
the game is it retains really well. Like I said, so our highest retention game today at Wildlife.
I mean, so just to dive deeper a little bit more. What do you think is the secret sauce of Wildlife Studios and why you guys are very effective with the mobile gaming demographic?
Right. So basically, the one thing that Wildlife does really well is to create what we call fun core loops, right? And you can think about the core loop as the gameplay, right? So you go in there, you get the cards, you play them, and we're very good at making that experience fun and creating fun mechanics that people enjoy engaging with, right? So I'll give you an example of the kind of things that we do. So there's one of our games called Tennis Clash. It's a huge game, and I think it's considered the best tennis game on mobile today. And we iterated for a lot of months on 11 different types of controls for the game, how the player would actually like play the game. So 11 different things. We thought about 11 different possibilities, turn-based, with the just like with your finger, buttons. Like we iterated a lot, played a lot of the game, and then we decide, okay, this is these are the like 2, 3. Then we tested them on soft launch and picked one. So we really created a system where we are able to iterate and really focus on creating a very fun experience that's suited to mobile, right? So I think that's what we do really well, and we have amazing people, amazing designers that know these systems and know what works on mobile and are able to develop it. And we take the time to experiment with many different possibilities until we find the one that, oh, this is like this is the exact experience we want the players to have when they're playing the game, right? So we're great at that. I think that's the secret sauce that Wildlife has, and all our games have that. Our games are extremely fun to play, and CastleCrush is not an exception, right? So if you go into that, you see that like there are tons of very creative mechanics, different cards. You can build multiple strategies, and that there's a whole effort in thinking about all these things, right? How do you want the players to play? What are the different things that they should be able to do, and how to make the game engaging. So that's what we do really well, is creating gameplay that players like to engage with, right? And they get joy out of playing our games. Not just like a mere grind or progression for the sake of progression. It's actually fun to play.
I think you made really good points there. So I would love to like dissect the ingredients into the secret
Mhm.
sauce, right? Um, because you guys actually, I think you got it because um like the simplest way to put it is that there are a lot of Web3 games, right? And left and right, there
Yeah.
are new projects coming out, and not most of them are necessarily, I would say fun, for
Mhm.
lack of a better term, but people play it because of the learning aspect. But you guys, you have that perspective of coming from a traditional web to a platform and coming into web 3, and I think this is also an important aspect where the web 3 projects can learn from web 2. Like you guys are building teams, you guys are bringing in talent from web3, like a metaverse, like you're trying to look for like a metaverse leads in your in your
Mhm.
companies. Like this is something that everyone's doing now. But on the other hand, like what I think should be happening is like these web3 companies and web3 projects should also be onboarding people from web2 with the experience on creating games that are engaging, that are fun, and as you said, you have a fun core loop that you mentioned. And I think that's what's essential because from what's from the market conditions, like very I mean ongoing market
Mhm.
conditions, I would say that it's good to have players playing the game, regardless if the token price is going up, is going down, or
Yeah.
whatnot, just because it's fun, and then that's where the value should be coming from. And we
Yes.
do have a lot of games that we see are working hard to to put these two things together: the earning potential, being able to stimulate the economy, and also just have a competitive game at the same time. And I mean, we're in a very early we're still in a very early stages of web3 and the metaverse, and I don't think like everyone should be taking it too hard on themselves or taking it too seriously, because it's still growing, and we are yet to find. And if everyone knew the secret sauce for web3 games, then all of these games will be popping off, and that's just not the case. Like we do
Yeah.
have the community to think about. We do have the earning aspect and the playability to think about that comes full circle, I would say.
Yeah. So there, I completely agree with you. I think the way there's a lot of experimentation still to be done in the space. I think anyone that claims that they've cracked it is not telling the truth, right? Because we're still figuring it out. So I think we need to have that mindset of looking at the data, seeing what works, and be able to react fast. And this is what we do in mobile as well, right? In Web two, basically, there was a big. Now you have people that understand mobile, but at the beginnings there was a lot of experimentation, adding new system, changing things, recalibrating to try to make to incorporate learnings and make the best possible product. But no one had the answer at first, and I think this is the same situation we are now at Web3. And I completely agree that we need like the team to build this is not like 100% Web3. It's not 100% Web2. You need that mix, right? And this is what we have in our team as well. So we are bringing in people from Web3 that are Web3 native, only think Web3, only know Web3, that to come in and bring that perspective, right? And it's been great to have people that are native Web3 professionals come in and share this perspective, because sometimes it's completely different, right? And the things that we think are important, and when you talk to people from Web3, oh, no, that's not what they're thinking about. That's not what they're worried about. So, and it's an entirely different world, like different people, different companies. So it's very important to have that mix, and be open to listen to both sides, right? I think that's the other thing that I think we did well, is we have our convictions around gaming and what gaming is, but we're very open to hear like from both our people internally that came from Web3, but also like you guys and other players on what is important for Web3, and adjust our designs according to that feedback.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean that's really great, man. But before we move on, I would like to remind everyone in the community, if you guys are tuned in on our socials, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter, we can please do drop your questions, either on the chat or in the YGG Discord channel. So look for the AMA discussion text channel where everyone will be shooting out their questions. But yeah, I mean, Sarah, Toby, do you have any questions for us as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at the audience, and they've got some really good questions that I'm seeing coming flooding through. One of which there is, with the kind of ecosystem of games within the kind of Wildlife Studios portfolio. Can you imagine that in future these might kind of interoperate and assets could kind of function across the different games, or is it more that they'd have assets that would exist more as a standalone thing, or have you guys ever considered like trying to create like an interoperable universe that kind of plugs into this kind of metaverse concept?
Yeah, so this is what we want to do, right? So this is exactly, if I tell like the dream is exactly that, where each new project builds on top of the existing ecosystem, and assets have value. Like ideally, it'd be almost like going to a store and buying a piece of clothes, right? And you can wear it on many different places, and it's still yours. That's how we're thinking about it. There are a lot of technical challenges. It's not easy, both from a technical perspective, but also from a design, and both game design and economy design perspective as well. This needs to be really well thought through. But this is something that we want, right? We want players to, let's say I have the dwarf on CastleCrush, right? And then I go into an FPS game, and that dwarf has some value there. It turns into, I don't know, either a special character or a special skin to an existing character, or you gain some sort of weapon like the dwarf hammer. I don't know, but there's definitely, we definitely want to think about this interoperability, and we want our every game that we make to increase the value of the whole system, right? And the value of the assets of everyone that came before, and so and compound that over time. That's what we want to do.
And it's even
Awesome.
possible to do some things even outside of wildlife's universe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're still very much in the field of ideas here, but nothing stops us from, doing a collaboration with another GameFi project, and taking some of their artwork and putting that as a playable character in our game, right? So we've been discussing this with some projects, and we'd love to experiment a bit also on expanding, not like to the whole GameFi ecosystem that exists right now, right? I think games have been sort of helping themselves grow up and bring audience amongst each other. So I think it's natural as the space grows to try to leverage on the existing, like the whole community of GameFi aficionados, let's call it.
Yeah. On that, another thing that we want to incentivize is that the community itself starts building small things around CastleCrush, right? With those assets, like maybe small mini games or tournaments. I don't know, things that revolve around the game, but it's easy to do because all the data is public in the blockchain, so we can easily get the assets and do and create new experiences around them within the CastleCrush community. So that's another thing that would be actually very new for wildlife. Is something that none of our games has built, but that we believe that blockchain allows that to happen in a much easier way than in Web2. So that this is another aspect of the ecosystem, that beyond us building things, We want we want to incentivize the community and make it as open source as possible for the community to build small applications on top of the assets that we have and the blockchain data that we're going to to have as a result of CastleCrush.
I've got an interesting question. Sorry, Sudan, I'll just jump in there. As guys that are so like involved in the mobile gaming space, I'm assuming that you guys play mobile games yourself to some degree, and maybe
Yeah.
here's an interesting question, right? Other than Wildlife Studios games, of all the mobile games that you guys have played, what would you guys like to see be turned into kind of blockchain games on mobile?
I would
Oh,
love
that's
to
a
see
good question.
something along the lines of, I don't know if you guys know AFK Arena. I'd love to see something along those lines to go into blockchain. I think it would require some changes in how they think about the economy, but I think that's such a deep game that could really be cool. And the other one is like MMOs like Lineage, for example. I think those could be really fun to have. Like I was just reading about Lineage the other day,
What was that
and
one?
you
Sorry, what was that? Sorry,
Lineage,
Lineage.
yeah, and so I'll just share like one thought here on blockchain. So one of the cool things about blockchain is this idea that if you think about Web 2, you only have money transfers from player to developer, right? And in Web 3, you can have like other flows going from player to developer, but also from developer to player, and more importantly, from player to player, right? And for example, there was this the I was reading on something that happened in Lineage where you had one clan that basically took over one of the server, and then other people, other clans made like a revolution to overthrow that clan and started attacking them, and they started like gathering other people. So I think those dynamics, right, where you can recruit players to achieve an objective, and you can have like this infighting for power. I think that's really cool. So I think like games like Lineage that enable this kind of deep social mechanics to happen both inside and outside the game. I think that can be really powerful.
And to add my personal opinion to that, there's a genre of mobile games called gacha games. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's these hero games where it's basically you try to get them in loot boxes. An example could be Genshin Impact maybe, but there are a bunch of them that are very native on very mobile oriented. And I think one of the most successful ones is called Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. It's been around for ages and it still ranks like top 10 in revenue generation. It's a crazy. I think it has like two or 3,000 characters by now, and it would be very cool to see that game launching their characters as NFTs. It's really hard to get the characters you want, and there's no way to trade them currently. Like if you have like a repeat of a very rare character, there's not much you can do with it. You just like throw it away in the store. While other players would probably play like would pay like $100 to have that. So games like gacha I think would be awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, and are these get both for both of you guys? Are these games that you'd actually actively have played yourselves and enjoyed playing?
Oh, more than I'd like to admit. I've spent much more than I would have liked in this Dragon Ball game.
Nice. And you can't take those out. And I suppose that's one reason why you'd love to see it kind of evolve into a blockchain game, because that way that kind of that time and money that you'd invested would okay, maybe you wouldn't you're not necessarily going to walk away with like massive multipliers. And I think I think that one really cool thing about blockchain gaming that I think needs to shift in people's consciousness a little bit is this idea of like everything having to be like 100x or 200x. That's not what it's all. It doesn't have to be about that. At the end of the day, what I think is most important is the idea that we can play games, and that like if you invest in these games, there's like ownership, and then maybe if you're skilled and you kind of really grind at this game, you walk away with something to show for it. And if players want to, if players value like just what you said there, like if a rare character only comes once every so often, you can take that and then you can trade it with somebody else that's really willing to kind of like stack the odds in their favor a little bit. So I think that's
Yeah.
going to be a really exciting way to watch. And that ties actually kind of back into another question from the community there, which is about like the existing monetization models that exist within CastleCrush, and also just more generally other Wildlife Studio games. How do you see these things as like coexisting, or does the existing revenue models, are you going to try and weave these into like benefiting the kind of Web3 participants? Or I'd be really interested in hearing like, are you going to preserve them just as a stand, like their own thing, and then have the kind of blockchain side exist separately? I know that I think that's kind of one question, but like yeah.
So in terms of revenue streams, right? So the answer to that is we don't know. So the business, like what the business model is, it's still unclear, right? And I think we still need to figure out how that would work. And part of what we want to do with our games is to figure out like how do we turn this into a sustainable model, right? And just to last point, I think that the problem we have with many of the games we have today is that they are sold as a financial instrument, right? So there is very few people that are playing the game for playing the game, and I think we need the mix, right? We need people that are investing in the game, that wanna play and that wanna own, that wanna collect, and we can have like another group of players that are uh, creating, like producing this economy mainly through their time, so that these other people can buy and get access to that. So I think we need to think about the way people are thinking about games in Web3. It's a very shallow thing in my opinion today, where it's all about, hey, you're gonna come in, you're gonna get this return, but there's not enough space for people who just wanna play a game and want to engage with the game and own the assets of that game. And you need both. So we don't know what the business model is right now for CastleCrush specifically. We're gonna keep the two revenue streams that they're gonna be free to play, and there's going to be the crypto layer as well. We want to onboard as many people into crypto. So, and if that starts to happen, maybe the free to play doesn't make sense anymore. And we want to start like the next project when we want it to be 100% crypto based, right? So we want the game to be fully a crypto based economy, and we want to tweak that to understand how that would work. But I think it's very unclear, and I think there's going to be a mix, to be honest. So if you look at gaming today, you have games that are 100% free to play, like most mobile games are, and you have some console games where it's a mix. You pay up front, and then you have some transactions inside the game, and basically the free to play part is a new feature in the game. And we think going forward, you're gonna see all this stuff blend together, right? Like to give an example, many of the console games have huge secondary markets. WoW, Diablo, even Elden Ring right now just launched, but already has people selling stuff on secondary markets online. The experience of doing that today is very bad, right? So it's easy to see how these games could leverage the technology to create the secondary market. So I think the model going forward, you're gonna see it mixed. You're gonna see games that are 100% crypto and they revolve around crypto, and you need to figure out how that business model works. And then you're gonna have games that use crypto as a way to enhance the player experience, but it's still based a lot around conventional revenue models. But I think you're gonna see a mix for a while.
That's great.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah, for sure. 100%, man, 100%. Like none of us, would want to like jump in on any new model that isn't like a fully road tested, now that we're actually like dealing with real assets here. It's not just, you know, like
Yeah.
digital items anymore. It's not just like digital coins anymore. Like these are tied to like real world assets and have value. So like, you know, anything that we might overdo or underdo, there will be always like gamers who would, you know, want to take advantage of that. And you know, if there's an
Exactly.
opportunity for that to happen, it will always happen. And you know, I think it's also, you know, the huge responsibility to of the game developers, for the rest of the community, to make sure that, you know, everyone playing the game, we are entering into a platform or an ecosystem or into an economy that is fair for everyone, and that just makes total sense. But I mean, here,
Okay.
jumping into your roadmap, we are in preparation for the playable NFTs, right, coming in June, and also the token sale. So, what is, you know, like for our scholars, like what do we have to prepare for? So by the time that when we by the time we enter June, you know, we can hit the ground running, and we can make sure that we are involved, and you know, we can start playing the game, earning and using NFTs.
Cool.
So can I
Alessandro, do
take
you
that one,
wanna?
Seth? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as I think most of us are aware, market conditions have been a little bit crazy over the past maybe week, maybe a bit more. So we've announced, I think yesterday, or the day before, we did a slight change to the dates. So that's going to be reflected in the website that you're screencasting in a second. But basically, the major milestones are, there will be the NFT sale will occur June 6th. That's for the whitelist sale. Public sale is 1 week after that, on the 13th. But we're not delaying the schedule for the release of the game. So of the blockchain layer of the game. So that is still going to happen late June. So we're very much on track with that. So for scholars that are looking to jump into the game, as we talked about a little bit earlier, I would strongly recommend, because you're going to keep the progress, and your Web 2 progress in the game is important, very, very important. I would seriously download the game now, start playing. There are some daily game modes. I think in like 20 minutes of gameplay a day, you can extract most of the rewards. It's not a very grindy game. So do download the game and start getting used to all the cards, advance and unlock more cards. I'd say that's what they should be looking forward to. And then minting will happen on the 6th, and then end of the month, end of June, they will start being able to play with the NFTs and actually earning. We're actually talking to YGG to get all the scholarship systems ready. So what system we'll be using, how scholars can actually go and literally go and register themselves and get the NFTs to play. So that's going to be announced probably by, I think, early June, right, Sechi? We're still
Yes.
working
Yes.
on the renting, but there will be natively supported renting mechanisms for guilds and scholars to choose the participation in tokens that each will receive.
Yeah, and like Alessandro said, it's not a grinding game. It's a mobile game, right? So each match is like 3 minutes tops, and so there's a lot of room for you guys to play. And I really recommend that you begin to play, familiarize yourself with the cards, with the mechanics, and it's a very deep game in terms of like the skill ceiling is high. There's a lot of room for creativity and really understanding the mechanics. So like I think the sooner you guys start playing and seeing how other players build their decks and what cards they use and which card counters what, and when's the right time to launch each card, like the better. And the way it's designed, we're really rewarding skill in the design, right? So the higher you rank, the more your earnings are multiplied when you play. So I would start right now and try to climb the ranks and get a feel for it. And yeah, and the game is fun, to be honest. Like you guys are gonna enjoy it. It's not gonna be a chore. So I would recommend that you give it a try. Like 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day. That's all you need to start progressing in the game today.
Sounds good. But yeah, before we wrap up, thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. Sarah, Toby, do you have anything else?
No, that's all. That's all from me for sure. So, thanks guys for coming. Thanks Alessandro for joining us. Thanks Fernando, and of course thanks to Sedano as well for being a lovely co-host alongside me. And if anyone's watching on YouTube, definitely make sure to give us a like on YouTube or Facebook, or give us a share or whatever medium you're on, and don't forget to subscribe and so forth. So do all that lovely stuff if you can for us, and make sure to check out CastleCrush and follow them on Twitter as well. So look, thanks everyone for coming, and that's it from me for sure.
Yep. So see you soon, guys. Peace.
Thanks a lot for having
Thanks
us.
so much, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.